الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وبعد. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh once again. Before we start, we want to just address a few questions that had come up in the break, and it would be helpful for everybody to know the questions and the answers to those questions, because I think other people may have similar questions. The first issue was about the covering of the feet in the ihram. Is this part of the ihram for the ladies? Yes, it is part of the ihram, and the ladies should cover their feet. The hadith of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is very clear that a woman should cover everything except her hands and her face. So the hadith is very, very clear on this issue. So the ladies should cover their feet, and it's not just in the salah but outside of the salah as well. So now covering the feet, it doesn't sometimes people, they wear long dresses and they do it that way, but again, outside sometimes that doesn't work. So it is important to do that, inshallah. And as I said, the hadith is very clear on that issue. The second issue is that if a sister is indisposed pretty much throughout the Hajj, and what should be done? Should she just not do Hajj, or her Hajj doesn't count, or how does that work? Well, as Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam instructed, he said that the lady should do everything except the tawaf. She should do everything for the Hajj except the tawaf. So the idea is, brothers and sisters, that and the brothers, it's important for all of you to know as well, because you know, as you have wives and sisters and daughters and so on, that it is she should do everything except the tawaf. And in terms of the tawaf, the most important tawaf is the tawaf of ifada, the tawaf of the Hajj. So if it so happens, first of all, she should wait till the very end, just before leaving, Saudi Arabia, that perhaps that period would be over. And if it is, then she does the tawaf al-ifada, and she goes and does the sa'i and so on, and everything is done. And she does not have to, in that case, things are normal, but she just waits till the end. Now, in the other scenario, if it happens that she does not, she's not in a position where that period has ended, and she's still indisposed, in that case, what the scholars, they say, and among them Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, that it is okay to do the tawaf of the Hajj, even in that state. Because if she doesn't, then the whole the travel group, the entire family, the whole group is leaving, and it is not easy to come back to Saudi Arabia. So in that situation, it's a very difficult and a hardship situation. It is okay for her to do the tawaf even in that condition, if those are the conditions. Now, however, if the situation is such that she can wait a little longer, the travel agent agrees that, look, I can delay your trip for another 5 days or another 10 days. If that is possible, you should look at those possibilities first. If that is possible, then go ahead and stay. But again, if that also is financially prohibitive, then obviously you can't do that. So in that case, the situation demands of it that you have to do it, because it's not easy to come back to Saudi Arabia. If you're in a situation where it is easy for you to come back to Mecca and to Medina, or to Mecca in this case, then like you just have to go to Riyadh, for example, or you have to go to Dammam, another city, or Medina, and then you can come back, then most definitely wait. Or if you're going to the Emirates, or you're going to Yemen, or you're going to one of the other countries nearby, Egypt or something, and it is easy for you to come back, then fine, just wait and then come back. But if you're talking about America, and the whole visa situation, and all the, especially with the security arrangements and all these issues, and it's going to be virtually impossible for you to go back within a decent time, in that case, go ahead and do the tawaf al-ifada, even if you are in that state. Okay. The third question that came up is that the issue of birth control pills, and some sisters, in order to delay that time, they feel that if they take the birth pills, that this will delay that time, and they can do Hajj comfortably and so on. Allah knows best, but I know that in the medical professionals that I have talked to, and there are many sisters that I have talked to, and my wife has talked to, and then consulting the ulama, all these three together, I think Allah knows best, but the best solution to this is not to go and take those birth pills and to delay the period. The reason being that medically, the doctors, they themselves say that it can often end up in a mess. It can often end up in a situation that is harmful, where the lady may bleed infrequently, or may begin spotting at a time that is not preventable, and so on and so forth. I mean, medically, the doctors, from many of the doctors that I've talked to, they don't recommend something like that. It's not a foolproof situation or a solution. And many of the sisters who have done this before, that who myself or my wife have talked to, they corroborate that. They say that they've had extreme trouble, and afterwards they have a lot of trouble getting back on the regular schedule and so on. And of course, among the ulama, there are some scholars who allow it, but only under the condition that it is not harmful. Only under the condition it is not harmful. Most of the ulama, they say no, because it is harmful, that it can result in irregular frequencies of that time. So in putting all this together, I would just say that stay away from it, because it is not a foolproof solution. And just do it, let its course take naturally, the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has planned it. And inshallah, the others, you can wait a little bit longer, or you can, all those other arrangements can be done without medicating yourself, unnecessarily. Okay. Yes. Meaning that, have you completed the Hajj, or you still haven't completed the Hajj? You can go to the the area of the Sa'i, the area where the Safa and Marwa, huh? You can go there. You can go there. That is something that is allowable. Whether it's looking at the Kaaba or reviewing or things of that nature, you could do, rather than just spending the time in the hotel,
And I had a question. I'm wondering logistically, first day that you're in Mina, if you wanted to do your walk that day, if you're concerned about, if you don't do it that day, you might not get to do a final walk. Is it easy to go to Mecca and come back on the first day? Or do you need to, tell our guide we want to make sure we do it on that first day we're in Mina?
If you have to, because of you're fearing that situation, and you know that you've got to do it today, then I would say regardless you do it. But in answer to your question, yes, it is difficult. The first day back, it is difficult. However, I would, and we're going to come to this now, inshallah. I would say that take the rukhsa, take the permission that is given for women and elders or anybody accompanying the women and the children to leave early from Muzdalifah. To leave early from Muzdalifah and beat the crowds in that way. This is, and we'll talk about this in just a few minutes, inshallah. And that way you would have done the tawaf, and it's a lot easier than going when the crowds are there. Okay, but we'll talk about that in just a second, inshallah. Okay, if I don't see you, just speak up. Okay, yeah.
If you're not able to do the tawaf for Umrah, and then you're able to do Hajj, can you do your tawaf for Umrah after you finish Hajj? In those few days you have before you finish?
You can do that, or what you can do is you just combine it. They call it qiran. Combine the, in other words, the tawaf for the Umrah and the Hajj, they will count together. You change the niyyah. You move from a tamattu' to a qiran. Okay.
In the case of somebody who has a child after Hajj, and then who is not able to do the tawaf with that, is there expiation on that case or
Okay, I didn't hear your question clearly. You're saying in the case of somebody who has a child after Hajj, and because of that they're not able to do the tawaf al-wida'? That's okay. Tawaf al-wida' in most cases is not considered like a rukn, like a pillar. Huh? What's that? No, she's talking about the wida', tawaf of the farewell. Okay. All right. We move on, inshallah. Moving on to the Hajj. The Hajj will begin on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. This is known as Yawm al-Tarwiyah. That is the day of watering, as I say, because it used to be that the Sahaba, and in the olden days, they used to take their animals for them to have water, and they would collect water for themselves for the coming days. And here, again, you begin to see the different areas that we would go to, the plains of Arafah, and so on. And then here, again, you see Arafah, and oh, by the way, here, you see the mountain in the very back here? This is the Jabal al-Rahma. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam stood at the edge of this on his camel, and what a lot of people do is that they climb this mountain and they make it a point to go on this mountain. This has nothing to do with the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. People think that if they go especially on this mountain, they will be blessed and so on, but that's not the case. That's not the case. And of course, here the picture of the people making dua. This is at the day of Arafah, and then here you see the large column, and there's another column here, and people refer to them as the shaitans, the big shaitan, the middle shaitan, and the little one. I mean, as really, if you think about it, even if you have a eeny weeny tiny one, they're all big. They all have a very big impact, But the bottom line is that these are not shaitans. These are not shaitans, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But these are columns, that Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that you're throwing the stones at. Okay, this scene that you see of the Kaaba, you probably won't see this. No, but believe it or not, if I was to tell you can see it, you can almost see this scene. You know when? You see it on the night, if you leave early from Muzdalifah and you come to the Haram, you can just like do the tawaf right next to the Kaaba. But we'll talk about that in just a second. But just remember this scene, so you have it in your mind. Okay. Okay, so now we're getting ready for the Hajj. On the night of the 7th, actually I should say the night of the 8th, because as you know, the Muslim nights, they come before the days. So the night before this day, which is the night of the 8th of the Hijjah, your group leaders are going to begin to tell you, okay, we're leaving tomorrow and we're going to go to Mina. We have camps all arranged in Mina, and prepare your luggage and so on and so forth. And a lot of them, they will tell you, just take enough luggage that you're going to need for the next 4 or 5 days or 6 days. And most of your other luggage, it'll be sent ahead of time to another hotel and so on. I think most of the travel agencies, they do that. So anyway, you start getting ready, and on the morning of the 8th, after, or actually even before you prayed Fajr, but normally people do this after they pray Fajr, they go to the Haram, they pray Fajr, they come back, and then they go into the state of Ihram. They wear their Ihram clothing, you take your bath, clip your nails, whatever, all those preliminaries, and then you go into the state of Ihram. And going into the state of Ihram means after you put on the Ihram clothing, you get on the bus, and once you're on the bus, or even from your room, in your hotel room, at that point you say, Labbaik Allahumma Hajjan, Labbaik Hajjan. You know, oh Allah, I am here to do the Hajj. This is your intention. And Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, often he would say, Allahumma hijjatun or hijjatan la riya'a fiha wa la sum'a. That he would say, oh Allah, I've come here to do the Hajj, and a Hajj that has no showing off or no show offiness in it at all. In other words, he was saying that, Ya Allah, this is totally dedicated to you. You know, so and remember, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I mean, did he ever show off? I mean, Subhanallah, he never showed off, but yet he's making this du'a, and Subhanallah. Those of us who are going there for Hajj, so after we come back, we can put Haji after our name or before our name. Be aware, inshallah, be alerted to this. So you're in the state of Ihram now. As you're in the state of Ihram, again, before the Ihram, or you know, these are the things that you do. You clean yourself, you wear the Ihram garment, you make the intention for the Hajj, and then you begin to recite the Talbiyah. The Talbiyah, as you know, is the Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik, Labbaik la sharika laka Labbaik, and so on, and to the very end. Innal hamda wa ni'mata laka wal mulk la sharika lak. So as you're reciting the Talbiyah, you're now going on your way to Mina, to the camp in Mina. And depending on the traffic and so on, it'll take you anywhere from 2 to 6, 7 hours. It just depends on. But again, this year, from what I hear, is that the transportation is a lot better because they have introduced these trams or these trains, and inshallah, it should be a lot easier. So now, obviously, you want to avoid any forbidden acts during the state of Ihram that we talked about earlier. Now, on the day of 8th day of the Hijjah, you're on your way to Mina. Try to recite the Talbiyah, Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik, just to put yourself in the right mood and in the right frame of mind. And if not, then recite the Quran, or be thinking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and what you're going to be doing. It's important that you begin thinking of your program on the next day, the big day, the day of Arafah. That you begin making plans, you begin to start memorizing dua and so on. Begin thinking about that, because once you get to Mina, that's when you have to put that plan into action. So once you get to Mina, again, you'll be in the middle of mountains, and you'll see, basically it's a tent city. You'll see tents upon tents upon tents, so many tents. And you remain in Mina. This is known as the Tarwiyah, the Yawm al-Tarwiyah, as I was saying earlier. And there you perform the 5 prayers: Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, and Fajr the next day. Uh, the only thing is that, inshallah, it should be coming up here, that you shorten the prayers. You shorten the prayers like Dhuhr and Asr and Isha. Okay. Again, this is Mina. As you can see, this is a overhead view of Mina, and you can see the tents and so on. Okay. Now, on the morning of the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, of course, you pray your Fajr, your 2 sunnahs, and your 2 fard. And after that, you begin making preparations, and you have your small bag with you. It's good to carry a bag that is light, and it's good to have a bag that has wheels on it. So if you're rolling the bag and so on, otherwise they can become really cumbersome, on your shoulder or something that you're dragging, it can become cumbersome. So if you can get bags that have wheels on them, that's good. Okay. You leave Mina for Arafah on the morning of the 9th. After you pray Fajr, that's you leave you leave Mina to go to Arafah, and you stay there till Maghrib. At Arafah, obviously you stay within the boundaries, and all day long you're making dua, you're glorifying Allah. But on the day of Arafah, basically all the action is supposed to begin after Salatul Dhuhr and Asr. At the time of Dhuhr, you pray Dhuhr and Asr, 2 rak'ahs each, and you shorten them and you combine them. Okay, and there's a short khutbah that is to be given it will be given in your tent and so on. If you cannot hear the khutbah that's given to the entire all the people in Arafah, that's usually in Arabic and so on. Sometimes they have radios and so on. But normally you can use that as the khutbah. However, if your group leader has decided to have a khutbah in your own tent, then you can do that also. That's also something that is allowable. So on the day of Arafah, you can see here, what's the amount of people there and so on. In the morning, you prepare, as you're there after Fajr, you get your rest. If you want to sleep, sleep. If you want to memorize du'as, memorize your du'as, get yourself ready. All the people who asked you to make du'a for them on the day of Arafah, you take out your list, and you put everything in order. All those things you do in the morning, on the morning after you're there in Arafah. They will provide you with breakfast, most of the groups and so on, and you have coffee and so on. But the important thing at this point is that you should get ready for what is to come after, between Dhuhr and Asr and Maghrib. That's the whole issue, okay? Because this is what the Hajj is all about. So after you, and so what I mean to say is that between Fajr and Dhuhr, you want to prepare yourself. And if you need to get some sleep now. Try to stay away from the eating. They'll have delicious food, believe me. Very delicious food. As a matter of fact, just for you, they will slaughter a lamb, and they will slaughter sheep, and they have meat and rice, and you have a lot of very good, tempting food. But the thing is, try to stay away from the food. Try to stay away from the food. Why? Because you definitely do not want to sleep during the dua time. You don't want to feel, lackadaisical at that point. You don't want to feel sluggish at that time. So if you eat a lot, and mind you, a lot of the times that good food will come right after Dhuhr and right after Asr. They say, come on brother, come on sister, come on, we have this whole lamb, this is delicious, wallah. At that point, you have to kind of be disciplined. And you can say, okay, just save my portion till after Maghrib. it's important not to overeat. Again, I'm not saying you should starve yourself, that you fall over because you didn't have anything to eat, but be very, be very careful, because you do not want to spend that time in sleeping. Also, once Salatul Dhuhr, the adhan will be given, and you pray Salatul Dhuhr, you pray Asr, 2 and 2, and then you have the khutbah. After that, you immediately start making dua. You go into your own private corner, wherever you find it, near some hill, or you'll find people all over in your camp. And so you just go and you start making your dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This definitely is what we would call prime time when it comes to Hajj. This is the moment that you've been waiting for. And this is why Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam in a hadith, he said, Al-Hajju Arafah. Hajj is all about Arafah. If you make Arafah, you've done Hajj. If you don't make Arafah, you've lost it. Okay? So, of course, physically you're there, but now spiritually you want to achieve the same thing, and you want to go beyond just the physical part. So, during that time, it's going to be roughly about 4 hours or so that you're going to have to concentrate on your dua. This is the time to make dua. It's not the time to sleep. And believe me, brothers and sisters, it's so sad to see that a lot of people are sleeping during that time, because they've been just been paralyzed by that lunch, that heavy lunch. Okay? Also, this is not the time, brothers and sisters, to talk about politics. Okay? That, this country is doing that, and that country is doing this, and we should be doing that, and we should be doing that, and they're, this is not the time. This is not the time. This is the time to concentrate on your politics with Allah, on your commitment with Allah, on your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and your power in your dua, and your tears, and your soft heart, and your time to be humble in front of Allah, and to recognize all the different sins that you may have committed, and your lack of commitment. This is the time to really get down and dig down deep into your soul, and really come clean with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the time to do that. And don't waste a moment of this time. Don't waste a moment of this time. There are many different hadith that talk about this. When Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, one time he said that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is proudly talking about His servants to Allah, to the angels. That look at how all these servants have come. And look at they've come, disheveled and dusty and so on. And Allah says that this day I'll forgive all of them. I'll forgive all of them. And everything. SubhanAllah. I mean, it's a tremendous opportunity. Don't waste an opportunity like this. Okay. Okay. Now, on the 9th, on the day of Arafah, before we get to Muzdalifah, at Maghrib, an hour before Maghrib, your group leader will begin to tell you, okay, let's get things ready. And we need to go to our bus. It's important that you listen to your group leader and you go to the bus. You can keep on making dua on the bus, okay, because you're still in the plains of Arafah, okay? I mean, don't think that just because you're going on the bus that you cannot make any dua anymore. You're still in Arafah. The buses will not move. They're not allowed to move until after Maghrib. That's the only time they will make a move. Otherwise, they're all parked. So when your group leader tells you to get into the bus, it's important that you do that at that time, because otherwise, if you wait till Maghrib, 3 million people are rushing to their buses. And you can imagine, you can imagine, you might get lost. So it's important that, and of course this year they have the trains, so I don't know how the arrangement is going to be this year, but maybe that'll cut down the traffic. So at Maghrib, you leave to go to another place known as Muzdalifa, and there you, depending on the traffic and so on, it could take an hour, or it could take the whole night. You know, and this, and I'm telling you that from my own experience. We've been. I was one of these trips. I was in the bus. I was in the bus from. We left at Maghrib, and we arrived the next day in Mina. We didn't even make it to Muzdalifah. You know, we arrived the next day just before Maghrib. 24 hours almost in the bus, So you might get into a situation like that, but of course in those situations, you have to be extremely patient. You can't get upset, otherwise you lose your Hajj. Okay, so you leave Arafah for Muzdalifah soon after sunset, right after sunset. That's why the group leaders are telling you, get in the bus. So right at the time of Maghrib, they leave. And you're having a lot of buses that they leave. The buses they leave. But again, this year they have trains, so it may be a lot simpler. Allah knows. So you perform, when you get to Muzdalifah, you perform the Maghrib and the Isha prayer there. You combine them. You pray 3 for Maghrib and you pray 2 for Isha. Okay, in Muzdalifah. And the important thing is that you pray them as soon as you get there. The idea is to get there within the next 2 to 3 hours. And a lot of times you will get there, but there may be times that you may not. But again, as I said, the train situation may be different this year, make the whole situation different. When you arrive in Muzdalifah, try to collect 70 pebbles to use for the stoning of the jamarat, those columns. At a minimum, collect 7 pebbles. At a minimum, collect 7 pebbles. Now, by the way, the sunnah is to collect them from there, from Muzdalifah. However, if you collect them from Arafah and other places, there's no sin on that. This is also allowable. Okay? Yes?
Two questions. One, you made a suggestion in reference to when you do your dua to other people when you're in Arafat, but I missed the time that you said for that. And also, what is the significance of Muzdalifah? I was trying to find some information, but I couldn't really find anything specifically about Muzdalifah other than we go there and you the stones, pick the stones and all of that.
Yeah, what was the first question?
You had made a suggestion about the timing that we should use for making the du'as for other people, from our list, while we're in Arafat. What was that timing? I missed that.
Okay. The timing where you make dua for yourself and for other people is right after you pray Asr and after the khutbah, and now you're on your own till Maghrib. During that time, make those du'as. But prepare your list before Dhuhr. When you're sitting by yourself there in the tent, you prepare, okay, I have to make dua for this person. Oh yeah, that person asked. Oh yeah, that person also asked. And this person is going to kill me if I don't. And so on. You make all your entire list. And then you make sure that you make the dua for them. In terms of the second question was what again? Yeah, the significance of Muzdalifah. The significance of Muzdalifah basically it's a place for the Muslims to rest on their way to back to Mina. On their way back to Mina. And that's perhaps the biggest thing. Outside of that, there, in the history, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the pagans, what they used to do is they used to do it the opposite way. They would go from Muzdalifah to Arafah. So Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam changed it and said the Muslims are different, they're unique, they have their own identity. So we're going to go from Arafah to Muzdalifah. So anyway, okay. So you perform the Maghrib and the Isha Salah there, you collect the stones. And by the way, the stones that you collect are like pea-size pebbles, okay? Not, orange size or, huh? Because the shaitan's really been mean to me, so I'm really going to get him this time. No. It's supposed to be pea-size, okay? Small pebbles, very, very small pebbles. Okay. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the sunnah is to stay, for most people, is to stay overnight and to perform the Fajr prayer in Muzdalifah. If you can do that, that is the best thing. Okay? But the sunnah is also to leave early, but under certain conditions. Okay? Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam himself, he stayed till Fajr. Okay? And that's perfectly fine to do, and this is what he did, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. However, it is also from the sunnah, and the reason I'm saying it purposely like this is because some people think it is not from the sunnah, that it is also from the sunnah to leave early, because Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam sent ahead women and children and anybody who was accompanying them, or elders or workers and so on. He sent them ahead of him to leave after the middle of the night. Okay. Now again, there's a difference of opinion among the scholars on this issue. Some say that after the middle of the night. Some say after 2/3 of the night has passed away. So again, the important thing is after most of the night has passed away. So after a little bit more than half night has passed away, that way it is known that you stayed most of the night in Muzdalifah, and after that you can leave. And this was the practice of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he used to send people ahead. And again, it was just to the major thing was to avoid the crowds, and to make it easier for them to do the tawaf of the Hajj, and to do the sa'i of the Hajj, and to do the stoning of the jamarat, and on the day of Eid there's only one that you have to stone, the big one. So that was the idea. Now imagine, brothers and sisters, if Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam at his time he was sending people ahead because of the crowds, what type of crowds do you think were there at his time? Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Although, mind you, at the farewell Hajj there was almost 150,000 people. When he gave his farewell khutbah, the numbers that come out is about 144,000 people that were there. But compared to today, so the reason I'm pointing this out is because a lot of people put the guilt trip on those others who are going early. So understand that this is also something that is totally sanctioned by the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it is something that is okay. Okay, move on to the next thing here. People collecting pebbles, Muzdalifah. Okay. Now here are some mistakes that people make in Mina and Arafah, and I don't know if everybody can read this or not. Okay, the first thing is that, again, do not waste your Hajj time in vain chatting. Okay? So, as I was saying earlier, that this is not the time to fix things in the world. This is the time to fix things in your own world, in the world within, and to fix your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, you don't push anyone when you're in a crowd at all. The sisters should avoid getting into any crushing crowds, like in Masjid Namira and so on. There's a masjid there near Arafah that a lot of people like to go to. And again, it's not a must, but that's where the khutbah is given from. And again, if you see huge crowds, that's not, just to try to avoid that. And the sisters in general should avoid getting into crowds where they're going to be pushed and shoved and so on and so forth. Okay, and of course, that applies to the brothers as well, by the way. Okay. In addition to this, uh, this next issue that people don't confirm where they are, if they're in Arafah or not, inshallah, you won't have that problem because your travel group, they've already arranged for the tents and so on, and you'll be within the bounds of Arafah. Also, on the 8th day, which is the day in Mina, it's the sunnah of Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam to spend it in the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to plan it in the right way. You know, so what you're going to do on the day of Arafah. Okay, when it comes to shortening the prayers and combining the prayers, you combine them in Arafah and Muzdalifah, but you don't combine them in Mina. Okay, you shorten, but you don't combine. Okay. Okay. And again, this the Mount of Mercy, the Jabal al-Rahma, is not something that you have to go to. A lot of people make it a point to go there and so on. Let me see. Any other crucial things? Okay. I think the rest of the things are, inshallah, they're pretty straightforward. The most important thing on the day of Arafah, as I said earlier, brothers and sisters, is do not waste your time in talking. Spend the time in dua, and do not waste your time talking about politics and so on. It's not going to do you any good at all, and you're just going to waste your time. Okay. Okay. On the 10th day, the morning of the 10th, if you've left early after the middle of the night, the idea is to return to Mina eventually. Now you can do that in one of two ways. First of all, if you left after the middle of the night, you begin to think of what you need to do the next day. Or if you leave after Fajr, then that's also fine, and you have to decide what to do at that point. After sunrise, you leave from Muzdalifah. Now, some of these issues are coming up now. On the day of the Eid, the 10th day, there are 4 issues you have to take care of. 4 issues you have to take care of. If you take care of 2, actually all 4 you don't have to do, you have to do 3 of them at least. If you take care of 2 of the 3, you can come out of your ihram. You can come out of your ihram. Okay? So, let me just take the first situation first. That you stay there in Muzdalifah till Fajr. You're still in the state of ihram, the ihram for the Hajj. And you stay there till Fajr and you leave after Fajr. And that's when most of the 3 million people are leaving with you. Okay? So the thing to do is to come to the jamarat, those large columns, and to come to the big one and to stone that big one 7 times. Just throw 7 pebbles at that big one. Now, after that, you've already given the money for the slaughter of the hadi. So they will slaughter that for you. The next thing after you've stoned the big column, you come and for the brothers, you get your head shaved. That's the best thing. You also have the option to get it trimmed, but the best option is to get it shaved. And Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam made a special dua for those people. Allah's mercy descends upon those people who shave totally their heads. So after that, you return to camp. If you want, you can return to camp, or you can go straight to the Kaaba, but usually people return to their camp and they change, they come out of the state of ihram, they take off their ihram clothing and they wear their normal clothes, whatever that you have, clean clothes, you take a bath and so on. Because again, you've spent now almost a day and a half outside. And at that point, especially those of us who are going to get their head shaven, you have hair all over you and so on, so you want to definitely take a bath and so on. Then after that, you go for the tawaf of the Hajj, the tawaf al-ifada. If you leave in the middle of the night, you can almost, depending on how skilled your group leader is and the drivers are, you can get all of this done by the time of Fajr. Okay, what I mean is that, again, we've been in situations where right after the middle of the night, we left and we went straight to the Haram. And there was hardly anybody there at all. Hardly anybody there at all. And you do the tawaf, within 20 minutes, half an hour, you do the tawaf, and you go and you do the sa'i, it might take you an hour or so. And then you come back and you throw the stones. There's no crowds there, hardly any crowds at all. And you come back, you get your head shaved, and by the time of Fajr, you're back in camp. Okay? And then you can just relax for the next 3 to 4 days, pretty much. So that's one thing that one is able to do if you have family members with you, if you have sisters with you, your wives, your mothers, your sisters, and so on. And if they feel that, or you might have elders in your group who have, for one reason or the other, that you can accompany them, those people are accompanying them and so on. But if you don't have that situation, it's better for you to stay till Fajr. Okay? And then as far as the Tawaf al-Ifada, you can do it on another day. It doesn't have to be on that day. If, for example, because of the crowds, you weren't able to do it on the day of Eid, on the 10th day of the Hijjah, you can do it on the 11th, you can do it on the 12th, you can do it on the 13th. You can do it on any one of those days. It's not critical that you do it on the first day. If you can, alhamdulillah, but again, that's when you'll find the largest crowds. A lot of people, they begin to leave by the 10th, by the 12th of the month. After 2 days, people begin to leave.
This can be done in any order?
This can also be done in any order. This can also be done in any order. Yeah.
And to get the head shaved, do we have to wait for the confirmation of slaughter?
In the majority of the schools of thoughts, no. But in those people who follow the Hanafi school of thought, they say that yes, you have to wait till it's confirmed. Okay. There's a question here, sisters? Okay. Okay. What's that? Yeah, we're coming to that. We're coming to that, inshallah.
Do the tawaf first. If everything can go in any order, could the tawaf be done as the first thing?
Yeah, that's what I was just saying, that one time we even went and we did the tawaf and the sa'i first, then we came and did the stoning, and then we did the shaving. You can do it in any order. And there's hadith of the Prophet ﷺ indicating to that effect. Because people actually came up to him, in all these different scenarios, believe it or not. They came, like one time one of the Sahaba came up to him and said, "Look, Ya Rasulullah, I did the tawaf first, then I did the stoning. Is that okay?" So he said, "If'al wa la haraj." Go ahead and do it, and that's okay. That was fine. What you did is fine. And many different scenarios which indicate that there's that flexibility here to do it in those ways. Yes.
What about those that do not have the money for the Hajj? When can you do the fasting?
When can you do it?
The fasting.
Okay. Those people who don't have the money for the Hajj, when should you do the fasting? Before the day of Arafah, or after the day of Arafah? Not on the Eid day, but in the days of Mina you can do the fasting as well, the 3 that you're supposed to do then, and the 7 when you get back home. Yes, brother, in the back, yeah.
How do we confirm the Hadi is done?
How do we?
We confirm the Hadi is done.
How do you confirm that the Hadi is done? I don't know if you can confirm that is done, because generally what they do is some of the brothers, they actually go there to the slaughter stations, and they do the slaughter themselves, or they watch in front of them that it's done. Some people do that. Okay. Otherwise, outside of that, they will tell you that at this time it'll be done.
No, this is what I was saying. Either the group leader will tell you the time, or when you pay at the machines, the machines will tell you the time on it. What time they're going to do it.
On the ticket they give you the time?
It says the time when it's going to be done.
Oh, okay. That's something new because I didn't know. Okay. Yes, brother.
Can Hajj be done outside the limits of Hajj? Manasik where we do, say for instance in Jeddah,
Yeah, it can be done that way. Yeah, but it's preferable to do it in Mecca. But you can wait till the end of Muharram, end of the Hijjah. Sorry, end of the Hijjah, even. But it's preferable to do it in those first few days. Yes.
Is Hadith same as doing Qurbani for?
Yeah.
Or two separate things? Like on normal days, if you're not going for Hajj and you do.
No, that's different. Yeah.
It's separate, right?
Yeah. If you're referring to Qurbani as the like when you don't go for Hajj and you do it here, yeah, then obviously it's different. But it's the same spirit, basically. It's the same spirit because it's done on the day of Eid.
Because I've heard some people would do both. Do you need to do both Hadi and?
No, you don't have to do both. But your family should do it, like at home, for example, if they can do it if they want to. Okay. Yes, in the back.
Some people cannot leave Arafah before Isha even. And the call is not that we should do Maghrib here and all that. So which is advisable.
Some people cannot leave Arafah before Isha. So where should you do it? You should still go to Muzdalifah and do it. You should leave Arafah and do it there. Now, if you happen to be in a situation like we were in this situation, we were 24 hours in the bus, then you have to stop somewhere and pray. If you notice that, for example, because Maghrib and Isha you can pray all the way up to Fajr, and if you notice now that Fajr is going to come in and you're going to miss Maghrib and Isha, then it's actually the middle of the night. You should pray it before the middle of the night. You should just stop off, ask your bus driver to stop somewhere, and you pray on the side of the road. And we've done that actually, a few times. Yes, brother.
Can we do Nawafil and Tahajjud during these days?
Can you do Nawafil and Tahajjud during these days? When you say during these days, you mean like in Mina or in Arafah or in Muzdalifah? In Mina, it's okay. In Muzdalifah, I don't think there's anything haram to do it, although you're highly encouraged to take rest after you pray Isha until Fajr, because the coming day is a grueling day. Okay? Yeah, between the 9th and the 10th, yeah. Yes.
In terms of coupling, sisters want to help with taking a class.
In terms of cupping, I'd have to confirm that. Inshallah, I'd have to get back to you on that. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Let's move on then. Was there another question on the sister side? Okay. If I don't see you, just speak up, inshallah. Okay. The common mistakes at the Jamarat. Some of the common mistakes at the Jamarat. Now, the procedure of the Jamarat, by the way, is that there are 3 columns. There's a small one. There's the middle one, and then there's the large one. The large one is known as Jamratul Aqaba. And the story that you read often is that the shaitan came to Ibrahim alayhi salam in those places, and that's why we do it. And that's why we stone those columns. That is not authentic. We don't have any authentic narrations about that. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam in a hadith, he pointed out that those columns were erected لِإِقَامَةِ ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ, for to establish the remembrance of Allah. And hence, you take these little pea-sized pebbles and you throw 7 of them. And each time you throw it, you say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Okay? So that's the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. On the day of Eid, the 10th day, you're only going to stone the Aqaba, which is just 7 stones. And the procedure is that you go up to that, it's a huge column. You'll see it now, it's different than what you saw here. It's huge, it's about, probably 30 to 50 feet wide. So if you think you're going to miss it, you're not going to miss it. Okay? You might not throw it far enough, but you're definitely not going to miss it if you throw it far enough. It's huge. And alhamdulillah, you won't find large crowds either. You're able to go to, especially for sisters also, you're now able to go right up to the sill and just throw it, And when you throw these stones, you're supposed to throw 1 at a time, not all 7 at one time. Huh? 1 at a time. Okay, 1 at a time. And each time you throw, you're supposed to say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Okay? And on the day of Eid, you're only supposed to hit the large one. And then after that, you leave. So, okay. So, on the other days, the 11th, the 12th, and the 13th, you're supposed to throw the stones at each one of them, at the small, the middle, the large one. And you're supposed to go there after Zawal, after Dhuhr basically, you're supposed to go there. And all the way up to Maghrib and so on. If the crowds are too much to go and for it to be safe, it is okay to do it after Maghrib, all the way up to Fajr. That is something that is allowable, okay? If it's dangerous for you to go. On the 11th and the 12th and the 13th, when you go to throw the stones, you're dressed in your normal clothes. After the small one and the middle one, you stand on the side and you make dua. You make dua. Some of the Sahaba, they said that Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam would stand on the side and make dua for as much time as it would take to read Surah Al-Baqarah. Okay? So it's not one of those quickie du'as, right? It's serious dua. Huh? Okay. After the middle, the small and the middle one, you're supposed to make dua, but not after the large one.
Yes. The first time when we do Jamarat, after we came from Muzdalif, we don't make a dua. We don't make a dua on that time, right? When you do the first Jamarat on one day, on the
day of Eid.
I thought you did, but then I read something that you don't. Inshallah, let me confirm that and I'll tell you, inshallah. I'll confirm that before we finish today, inshallah.